welcome to the second part on our three-part series on video game disorder. Today, we're going to be talking about how to know if you have video game disorder and why do people become addicted. Before we start, if you haven't already, please go watch the first part where we talk about what is video game disorder and the dangers of it, as it will help in the understanding of this video. Let's start off by talking about how to know if you have video game disorder. To know if you have video game disorder, you have to look at if you're exhibiting any of the symptoms or any of the warning signs. Some of the warning signs can be poor work performance, poor academic performance, preoccupation with thoughts on previous online activity, sleep disruption, mood changes, significant weight gain or loss, forgetting to eat and take a bath or sleep, feeling anxious, miserable, or angry when taken away from video games, and getting angry if someone interferes with playtime, lying about playtime, preoccupation with gaming, and uncontrollable outbursts when told that you should stop gaming. Now, for you to be actually diagnosed with gaming disorder, you must show the symptoms for at least 12 months. And I'd like to point out another point that I've mentioned in the last video is that even if you play a lot of video games, it doesn't necessarily mean you're addicted, as some people can still live a normal life even if they play a lot of video games. So a person who has video game disorder will normally have improper hygiene because they spend too much time, and they'll probably not eat properly. So if any family members, loved ones, or friends experience any of these warning symptoms, please warn them about video game addiction and its dangers, but also tell their family so they can start seeking help already, or even try to get them away from their video games so they won't develop it. Next up, we're going to be talking about the question that's on everybody's minds. Why are video games addictive? And why do people become addicted? The cause of video games being so addictive is how they're created, as games are designed to be challenging enough to make you return, but not hard enough to make you discouraged of playing it and leave. And this gives a feeling that you're just out of reach of what you want. And this is something very similar to what causes people to get gambling disorder, as the goal is just out of their reach, there and in video games. But not all video games are created equally. Research found that massive multiplayer online games and first-person shooter games tend to be the most addictive ones. But generally, most addictive video games tend to have no end, meaning they go on forever, which never really ends the addictiveness of the game. They frequently reward the player for minimal effort, which keeps the player hooked on the game as they are constantly being rewarded. The ratio of work to reward is very good, as after a set time, the player will receive a reward, making them even more hooked with the game as they will constantly be rewarded. And it encourages online social interactions, which causes the player to spend more time with people in the game than the people outside world, causing it to be more addicting. And it requires more dedication for the people to meet up online, and that can also help with the addictiveness of the game. Another point on why video games are addicting is that they can be played on anything, from your smartphone to your TV to your console to your PC. This increases the addiction, as the game can be played basically anywhere. At your house, you could use a PC or a television, and outside, you could use your smartphone. So the person can never really leave the game if it can be played anywhere. Now let's talk about what other things can cause a person to become addicted to video games. The other reasons why a person can become addicted to video games is varied from person to person, but it's mostly due to their emotions. as video games can be used as a means to escape their problems or to release pent-up anger and aggression in a safe way. Some researchers also believe that video games are addictive because of the dopamine release when somebody plays video games. Dopamine is released when somebody does activities that bring pleasure. This can be eating, doing sports, or for some people, doing drugs, but it depends on person to person. The brain will start seeing video games as a way to get high amounts of dopamine, so it will start becoming addictive. Now let's talk about a case in 2005 where a South Korean died after playing 50 hours of video games with few breaks. In 2005, a South Korean 28-year-old man was found dead after playing 50 hours of video games. His presumed cause of death was heart failure stemming from exhaustion. He had been playing StarCraft for over 50 hours, with only short breaks for sleep and to go to the bathroom. Not only that, but he hadn't eaten enough during his marathon. We also found out that he had been recently fired from his job due to him missing work from playing video games. Prior to his death, he hadn't shown any previous health conditions, so this heart attack couldn't have been caused by anything else than exhaustion. As we can see, there's a lot of similarities between this case and the case talked about in part 1. Both of them died from a heart problem that stemmed from exhaustion. And both of them got laid off their work from playing video games. And the cause of this exhaustion was the same too. They both had been playing video games for a large sum of time with few breaks, small amount of sleep, and bad habits of eating. This will all lead to the heart attack. And all this points at it being caused by video game addiction, which at the time of the first case wasn't considered a real disease. I hope you enjoyed the second part of our 3-part series on video game addiction. And we're doing this to raise awareness for video game addiction, so please help us out by sharing the videos out on different social medias, or even making posts about it yourself. Join us next time to talk about treatments for video game addiction and how to prevent getting a video game addiction.